Hey y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the Opalescent collection that is available right now from Femme Fatale Cosmetics. These were sent to me for review, and I'll link her storefront and social media down below. Unfortunately, these are sold out on the Femme Fatale Australian website, but they are starting to trick down to your favorite stockists. I know right now they are for sure in stock at Beautometry, so I'll link that down below as well and try to see anywhere else that they are in stock, and I'll have it down in the description box. So I'll go ahead and get right into it. First up is the White Flame, and this is described as a sheer, slightly grayed white crelly with a soft violet glow, and it's full of rainbow iridescent glitters, fine scattered holographic glitter, and large iridescent multicolored flakies. So I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how the White Flame swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. This does go on quite sheer, as I found that most Femme Fatale Cosmetics polishes do, especially if they have that gorgeous shimmer in there. I absolutely love the flakies in this one. I do think that this is among my top favorites. I'll go ahead and let that dry and show you how it builds up with a second coat. Now I am working with thicker coats here to kind of build up that opacity quicker, and also helps me manipulate the flakies to get them exactly where I want them. So at 2 coats, I do still have quite a bit of nail line. I'll let that dry and come back in and show you how it builds up with a third coat. So here's a quick look at that third and final coat. Again, I am going in a little bit thicker here. I had a wayward flaky here. It's one of those pink shifting flakies, so I really wanted that on the nail because I'm all like, the more flakies, the merrier. So this third coat does bring this one right to the edge of being completely opaque. I did still have some nail line going on, but I feel like if you wanted to use a white base for this polish, that would be beautiful as well. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat. So this does have some texture. A good top coat is going to bring those top flakies down and make them really cohesive and make it look more like a gemstone on the nails. So here's a view from another angle, direct sunlight. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then once more in the shade. I really feel like this gives you an idea of what it would look like matte. I also have direct sunlight shots on my blog if you're interested in that. So next up is Polymer Barrette, and this is described as a clear base packed with scattered holographic particles, red to green shifting iridescent glitters, and turquoise glow. So this does have those gorgeous iridescent glitters that I love so much, as well as some holo going on there. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Polymer Barrette swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. Again, this does start out pretty sheer. It is really easy to use though. It is a little bit on the thicker side and definitely packed with a ton of different glitters. I'll let that dry and then show you how it builds up with a second coat. So here's a look at that second coat. Par for the course, I am going to go in a little bit thicker here. It definitely helps build it up closer to being completely opaque. I do still have a very strong flash of nail line. I do have very voracious nail lines anyway. If you have shorter nails, you may not have to worry about this so much. But here's a look at my third and final coat. Again, I did go in a little bit thicker here, and I think that this definitely pushes this one over into being completely opaque in 3. That strong teal shimmer definitely helps build this one up quicker as well. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat. Again, I do definitely recommend a nice glossy or even matte top coat to help bring that top layer down into being more cohesive. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with the top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle in the shade. So next up is Starr Brains, and this is described as a sheer, slightly blue-based flake polish with a strong blue luminescence or shimmer. It's also packed full of pink iridescent glitters with a blue flash, scattered holographic, matte pale pink glitters, and soft pink ethereal flakies. So I think what really sets this one apart is those matte white glitters. There's a quick look at that brush shot, and I'll show you how Starr Brains swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. This does make a beautiful blush of colors. I think that this one will really make an awesome topper as well. I do feel like it was the sheerest of this collection. I'll show you how it builds up with a second coat. So here's a look at that. It definitely does add more glitters to the nail and maybe amps up that opacity a little bit. It is still quite sheer for me though, so I'll let that dry and then show you how it builds up with that third coat. So here's a look at that third and final coat. I am going in pretty heavy-handed with this coat. It still makes for a gorgeous finish, very clean look, but I did have a very strong presence of visible nail line. I almost went back in for a 4th coat, and I definitely feel like a 4th coat would push this closer to being completely opaque, but here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting, so that shimmer definitely helps build up that opacity. Here's a view from another angle, direct sunlight with a glossy top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then finally once more at an angle in shade. So next up is Cracked Cosmos, and this is one of my favorites of the collection. This is described as a sheer, warm-toned gray crelly with a slight mauve purple hue. It's overlaid with a very subtle reddish glow, and it's packed full of scattered holographic red to green iridescent flakies and red shifting iridescent flakes. So this one has a lot going on, but it's very soft, very feminine on the nail. I'll go ahead and show you how Cracked Cosmos swatched in the first coat. This one does go on just as sheer as the others, but really smooth, really easy to work with. You actually get a ton of flakies on the nail. I think it's really hard to see through my camera here, but they are definitely prevalent in person. So I'll let that dry and then show you how it builds up with a second coat. Again, I am going in pretty heavy-handed with these, so this is a thicker second coat. This pushes this one really close to being completely opaque in just 2 coats. I am going to go ahead and let it dry and show you how it builds up with a third coat. I do definitely prefer this at 3 coats. It just adds a ton more depth and for sure brings this one completely opaque. So here's a look at that third and final coat. This one is going to dry down a little bit textured as well due to all those gorgeous flakies. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before, glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. Again, I definitely do recommend a nice glossy or matte top coat. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle in the shade. So this is definitely a stunner under all different lighting sources. So lastly today I have Celestial Sea, and this is described as a squishy, warm-toned brownish base with a hint of red undertones and packed with blue to purple shifting shimmer as well as pink holographic accents and blue to purple shifting iridescent flakies. So I definitely don't get a brown feel from this. This for sure feels like a purple to me. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Celestial Sea swatched on my natural nail. Now that I'm reading that, this base does feel a little bit brown, but definitely pulls more purple, especially as it builds up that opacity with all of those flakies. This one was pretty thin, so you may want to watch for pooling. I'll let that dry and then show you how it builds up with a second coat. So this is definitely more of a jelly base, so it did start out pretty sheer, but it's building up fairly well on itself. You also get a ton of those flakies. It's not completely opaque in 2 though, so I'll let that dry and then show you how it builds up with a third coat. So here's a look at that third and final coat. I am going in a little bit thicker here, and this pushes this one right over the edge into being completely opaque. I feel like a matte top coat is really going to bring all of those flakies to the forefront as well. Super, super beautiful polish, and it definitely rounds out this gorgeous opal-inspired collection. So here's a look at that completed mani, again at 3 coats before glossy top coat, so this one does dry down a little bit smoother than the others. However, I definitely do recommend a nice glossy top coat to help bring those flakies that are in the top to be more cohesive. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then finally once more at an angle in the shade. So this pulls super vampy in the shade, which I absolutely love. So that does wrap up my swatch and review of the Opalescent collection. Again, these are available right now. They'll retail for about $12 depending on your stockist. I'll definitely link down below all the ones that I can get in touch with. If you'd like to see more photos, I do have those available on my blog at sloppyswatches.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll be back with the Emily Damali collaboration polishes as soon as I can, so I'll see you guys next time.